thank you guys for singing with your hearts. It really energized me. I was kind of nervous, to be honest, earlier this week. Joe asked me to preach, and it's been a while since I preached in front of the church, and so I got kind of nervous. And so this week, what I always default on is I just simply just share what God's been teaching, teaching me throughout the week.
Come on.
And so we had Bible talk this Friday night at our place, and I told the group, I just need to practice real quick. So they got a little sneak peek of what I'm going to talk about today. So the question, we talked about the debate between Android and iPhone. Yeah, you can tell. It's deep rooted. It's a heated topic, even amongst those in this room. Some of you just had like a inkling of rage when I mentioned it. But we talked about Android and iPhone and like why folks like one or the other. And we talked about the concept of calls, like a cell phone. Like mostly everyone here has a cell phone. Even Dirk has one. My son is always asking me, Dad, when are you going to give me a phone? I'm like, why do you need a phone? You're 8 years old, like you're only going to call me. And so we talked about, the phone calls and, how there's a question I asked the group. When was the last time you screened a phone call? And, some folks didn't know what that meant. So, the phone call, when someone calls you and you don't answer, you see who it is. Maybe you know who it is, maybe you don't, but you don't answer, you just let it go to voicemail. Then you listen to the voicemail, see who it was or what they had to say. And there's a lot of reasons why people screen phone calls. It could be, simple, I don't know who this number is, I'm not going to pick it up. Or you know who it is. you know what they're going to say, and you just don't want to hear it. And so you screen phone calls. And so the follow-up question is, God is calling you, but are you screening his call? Are you not picking up, not answering? And so obviously that sparked a lot of debate. And I asked that question because I was thinking about that all this week. About the various calls that God has called to me, like that he's made to me. And the times when I picked up, or the times when I being real, like I've screened that call. I know God's calling me to do something, but yet, I just don't feel like picking it up. And there can be that excuse, I don't have your number in my phone, or I was asleep, my phone was off, all kinds of things that we've heard and people real the excuses that we've given. And I said, why is it the time when I have screened and I haven't answered the call, like why is that? And so the topic of trust came up. Ask myself the question like, man, do I trust God? Do I trust God? And so I thought that, we talked about this morning. And there's a phrase that came up when I thought about that question, and it's the phrase, in God we trust. And that's the title of the lesson, just, foreshadowing. In God we trust. And I wanted to study out, I have this thing where I hear certain phrases, and I just like to know where things originated from. Yeah. Terms like, the cat's out of the bag, or things different. It's pretty cool when you study out where the origins of little phrases like that come from. And so I wanted to study out the origins of, in God we trust. Because one, I've heard it, it's on money, and it's odd, that America, especially in today's climate, there's so much that we can look at it, and you don't see God when you look at America, right? You don't see a lot of Christ-like qualities. Yet, in God we trust is on our money. Right. It's on a lot of documents. It's on a lot of things that when you think of America, you see that phrase. It actually is America's motto. It was adopted as America's motto in 1956, and I was like, I figured that would be way earlier than that. 1956, but the motto that it replaced was E pluribus unum. Right? Yeah. We've seen that on money too. Yep. Out of many, one. It first appeared on the 2-cent piece. Dang, I didn't even know they had 2 cents. In 1864. And so, in God we trust is America's motto. And so I'm like, wow, if that's America's motto, like I wonder if I were to ask folks and say, hey, do you trust God? What would be the answer? If that is in fact America's motto. And the definition of trust is the assured reliance on the character, ability, strength, or truth of someone or something. And so when I read this, I had a chuckle because everyone knows I don't trust wild animals, right? And so and then everyone gives me a hard time, says, what are you, David, you're tripping. Why do you not trust wild animals? And so I read this and I'm like, yeah, I don't trust in the ability, strength, or the character of a wild animal. Like, no way. So I feel very, very at ease by the fact that I don't trust wild animals. But when I read that, it brought me to the scripture. Let's break open the Bible, right? We're here to study God's word. We're here to get into it. And this is one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible. We can find it in John chapter 14. And I want you guys to be thinking about that term, in God we trust, as we read the message this morning. In God we trust. And then too, like, do I trust God? Do I really trust God? In John 14, and I'm going to read the New Living Translation. It's pretty cool. In John 14, verse 1, the Bible reads, "Don't let your hearts be troubled." This is Jesus talking. "Trust in God and trust also in me. There is more than enough room in my Father's home. If this were not so, would I have told you that I'm going to prepare a place for you? When everything is ready, I will come and get you, so that you will always be with me where I am, and you know the way to where I am going." And this is Jesus talking to his disciples, and I read the scripture, I'm like, man, it brings me so much comfort. But when I dug into the scripture, I'm like, man, why did Jesus have to say this? It says, trust in God, trust also in me. Like, why did he have to make that statement? Right? Like, oh, trust in God, oh yeah, but also trust me. If I was there, I'm like, what do you, of course I trust you. But then I doubled back and thought about my life and thought about the various challenges, not only this year, but just in the past couple weeks. And I'm like, well, he's absolutely right. There's been times, even this month, where I can say, man, I have not trusted God. Mm-hmm. And so it makes even more sense why Jesus makes this statement here. Even though it seems abundantly obvious that we need to trust God, Jesus himself said, hey, trust God, trust also in me. And here, Jesus obviously was put on earth, was a human. And he himself said, you know what, you're going to have times when you might have trouble trusting men. But the key is to trust God first. Right? Jesus, a man himself, said, hey, you need to trust God first before you trust me. Yeah. Right? Trust God, trust also in me. And that's something, too, that we can kind of lose sight of, right? There's, when I say, if I ask a question, are there people that you don't trust in your life? I'm pretty sure there's people that we would think of. Sadly, there's people that we think of, and I do not trust this person. But here the Bible says, Jesus is saying, hey, trust God, trust also in me. We got to start with our trust in God. So I wanted to talk about that. Trust in God. What is that? How do we trust in God? How can we make the title of the sermon true for us? In God we trust. And so the first point I want to share with you guys is too good to be true. I did a little searching. I was trying to figure out some insights, into not just trusting God, but just how do people trust in general, or why people don't trust. Why don't we trust people? And this phrase came up. This is one of those phrases that I like to say, too good to be true. Like, where did that come from? We understand it, but where did it originate? I used to work for Nike this was, ages ago. I love Nike. Those that know me know. But there was this time, how many of you are familiar with the shoe? It wasn't a Nike shoe, but it's called the Shape-Ups. Yeah. The Shape-Ups? For those Skechers Shape-Ups, there's these shoes that look like platform shoes. They're pretty ridiculous looking, but they have like this circular bottom. Yeah. And Skechers claim they're advertising things like you wear these shoes and they tone your legs, tone your body, just by walking around them. And we at Nike, it was this running joke. And, we kind of rolled our eyes when we saw that ad. And sure enough, we saw something. If you were one of these people, please, it was all good. It was all good. They got a lot of people. So we have this thing in the store. We have a tally of how many people walk in the store wearing Shape-Ups, or just walking. And it was crazy how many people, when these shoes came out, were wearing them. And it makes sense why folks will want to buy these shoes. Everyone wants to get in shape. They want to be active. But the thing that we kind of saw is that, shoes aren't going to do the trick for you. And sure enough, years later, there's a lawsuit against Skechers because they're false advertising. A shoe is not going to make you lose weight just by simply wearing it and walking around. And so there are these folks that would come in and they would ask us, do you have the shape up shoes? Like they'd ask us coming into Nike, so do you have the shape up shoes? And we have like the script that we have to share with people because they just didn't understand how we didn't have Nike. This athletic company didn't have shoes that made you lose weight. Like how come you guys don't have the shape up? So in Nike's answer, they came out with this shoe that was a training shoe, and the tag, I forget the exact words, but the tagline was that like you have to do the work. The shoes aren't gonna do it for you. Like you have to actually work out if you want to lose weight. You can't just walk. And so that's what the phrase "too good" that was one of the things that meant. Like that's too good to be true. That a shoe is gonna lose weight for you. But a lot of people got duped into that. It's a great saying. Too good to be true. It's a great concept. But honestly, guys, this is how some people feel about God. Yeah. That's too good to be true. Are you telling me that, man, like all I have to do is follow God, like my life is gonna get better, God's gonna hear me, like all these amazing things I hear you talking about your life. That sounds way too good to be true. Are you kidding me? Let's look at all the strife and the pain that is in the world. You telling me that a relationship with God is gonna change my life? That sounds way too good to be true. And when I study this out, this is what gets people to not trust in God. Because they have this warped concept that from where, we can, spend, hours talking about where it originates, where people feel like the concept of God is too good to be true. But that's what causes us to not trust God. But we're like, there's no way God is going to change my life. There's no way that this sin that I'm dealing with, that God's going to help me to overcome it. That sounds way too good to be true. I can't trust it. But yet that's how some people feel about God. That the circumstances, despite the circumstances, nothing is going to change. Our environment and society has programmed us, not to trust anything that fits that's too good to be true. We don't trust it. And funny enough, when reading the Bible, the same thing was true for folks in the Bible. Let's turn to Genesis chapter 15. Too good to be true. Do you trust God? In Genesis 15, we read kind of, one of the very early instances of this happening. In Genesis 15, we read about the father of our faith, Abraham. But right now, he's just Abram. He's not Abraham yet. In Genesis 15, verse 1, the Bible reads, "After this, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. 'Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward.' But Abraham said, 'Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless, and the one who will inherit my estate is Eleazar of Damascus?' And Abraham said, 'You have given me no children, so a servant in my household will be my heir.' Then the word of the Lord came to him, 'This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir.' He took him outside and said, 'Look up at the sky and count the stars, if indeed you can count them.' Then he said to him, 'So shall your offspring be.'" And here's the first instance. I can imagine Abraham thinking right now, are you kidding me? I'm going to have an heir? That sounds way too good to be true. I'm an old man, and you're saying that I'm going to have an heir of my own flesh and blood? And I've read this before, but Abraham was really, really old, guys. I know that he said he was 99 years old. And he was and we all know he ended up having a son, Isaac, but he was 100 when Isaac was born. That's really, really old. And we read this and we're like, come on, man, it's God talking to you. Of course. But Abraham was 99 years old, guys. He was an old dude. And I read this and I thought, there's a lot of times in my life where I cannot see past my circumstance, right? And I even, coming out, looking back, it's like, duh, of course, that term, here's another term, hindsight is 20/20, right? Yeah. But Abraham couldn't see past his situation right here. He thought, man, me having a son of my own flesh and blood, that's too good to be true, God. I can't really believe that right now. Do you have a situation in your life right now that if God were to answer it, that would be too good to be true? Are you like Abraham? Like, there's something that, you know what, I can't see past it. Maybe it's, we're in Christmas time, holiday time. Family is a big issue. I had talked with my father. He and I, have an interesting relationship. I don't know if you guys can relate, but my father and I, we can go like months and months without talking. Like it's my wife like shakes her head every time. Her parents call her like every other day, and her parents are driving up here to celebrate her. It was my wife's birthday this past on the 28th. Her birthday, yeah. So they're driving up to have celebrate her birthday. But man, I can go ages without talking to my parents, and it's not like we have issues or anything. That's just how we function. And at times it can be hard for me to even see that our relationship can be different. But family time, that's usually a sticking point in the holidays, right? There's family issues. There's things that you see never changing in terms of your dynamic with your family. Maybe there's some estranged relationships. Maybe if God is saying, "Hey, I can change that," you're thinking that that's too good to be true. That can't happen. Like, are you kidding me? Maybe you're like Abram in this story. When we think things are too good to be true, that's when the lack of trust can come in our relationship with God. But let's keep reading. It wasn't just Abram that had this challenge. His wife had the same challenge as well. Now imagine, I think of husband and wife dynamic. Abram can be told, "Oh, you're gonna have a son." He's not the one that has to go into labor. He's not the one that has to deliver the baby. Like his wife was old as well, right? So let's see what her reaction is in Genesis 18. So Abram gets the vision, and he has trouble seeing past the circumstance. So his wife had a similar reaction in Genesis 18. In verse 9. They have these visitors that come and visit Abram and his family. And one of them asks, he says, "Where's your wife?" In verse 9. He says, "Where's your wife Sarah?" They asked him. "There in the tent," he said. Then one of them said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son." Now Sarah was listening at the entrance of the tent, which was behind them. Abraham and Sarah were very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, "After I'm worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Then the Lord said to Abram, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, will I really have a child now that I'm old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid and lied and said, "I did not laugh." But he said, "Yes, you did laugh." Sometimes God has to call us out on our unbelief at times. But here, Sarah had the same thought, like listening into the conversation. She even thought that's too good to be true. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm old. Right? Like, how is this gonna happen? Here's the thing I realized: trust has to be complete, guys. When I read this, there's a thought that came into my mind. Is that when I'm asking myself, do I trust God? You kind of have that battle, like, oh yeah, I trust God. I do this or this happened. But I had this realization, like, you either trust someone or you don't. And if there's hesitation or if you have to think about it or rationalize it, it means you don't trust. Yeah. And sometimes we got to be real. And here God called out Sarah on her unbelief and her lack of trust. And God is in a lot of ways calling us out at times on our lack of trust. He's like, do you really trust God? Do you hesitate? Yeah. All right. When I ask this question, are you thinking about all these types of circumstances that maybe have influenced whether you trust God or not? If you have to think about it, odds are you don't trust Him. Trust has to be complete. I want to throw out a little challenge to you guys. Come on, bro. And the challenge is to simply make a list. The year is almost over. I want you to write out a list on what God has done in your life this year. When I ask the question, what has God done in your life? Just write a simple list. What has God done in your life this year? Is there anything that you've given up hope on? What do you think? What are some things that you want that if God were to say would happen, you have the same reaction as Abram and Sarah? You laugh and you give up reasons why that can't happen. Are there things that are too good to be true? Second point, stand in awe. So I did a little some extra digging on trust and how to build trust just with people and with God. And as I mentioned earlier, our environment society programs us not to trust anything. And the funny thing is, a great way to build build trust is actually, I think about my fear of animals, or my lack of trust of animals. And this is one of the things where when I saw it, I immediately closed the window on the browser because I didn't want to deal with it. They say that one of the best ways to build trust with something is to think about with God. So think about the last time you were scared. Think about the last time you were scared. And the reason I was like, why would I, if I'm scared of something, when I think about the last time that thing scared me? Why? That doesn't make sense. And the reason I say is that, hey, for instance, I put myself in the way. I'm afraid of raccoons, right? One of the many things. Yeah, they're crazy. They're extremely violent. But I'm afraid of raccoons. But if I ask myself this question, I laugh. But David Jackson, I'm afraid of raccoons, but I've encountered raccoons before, and I'm still alive. And so I think to myself, okay, man, I don't trust animals, but I'm still here. I haven't been mauled by one, right? And it's the same thing with God, right? I had to put this relationship with God. If there's areas that I don't trust God in, right? If we be honest. But when we think about all the things that God has delivered us from, all the things that God has proven that He's in our lives, right? To think about those things, to stand out. When's the last time God scared you, right? You did something where, oh man, that's freaky, that's scary. That's when God is trying to build His trust with you. Man, look, I am God. I'm going to take care of you. And it made sense. I'm like, I'm not ready to really do that with animals, to surround myself, but with God I absolutely can. I can rattle off numerous times that God has delivered me from things. I think about when I first became a father. So scary. Had no idea, it's awesome, you get caught up, you get the announcements, hey, we're having kids, and I find out I'm having a son, which encouraged me because I didn't, if I had two, I have 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls, and if I had another boy, I wouldn't know what to name him. I knew that I was going to name my first son David. If I had another son, I had no idea. But I was scared. I was like, you know what? As the day came close, I was frightened. And I'm like, wow, how am I going to do this? For the men in the room that have kids, you can relate to what I'm saying. You have memories of how you were raised and things that all these things, and all this fear just seizes you.
Still frightening.
Yeah. It's a lot of sin doesn't leave. But I was so scared. But then I look back and I look at my kids and they're happy, they're taken care of. What excuse do I have to not trust God? That God has totally taken care of. And so I wanted to dig into the scriptures. What is another scary time that God has shown to His people that I can glean on? And that is in Daniel chapter 3.
Come on.
Sometimes we got to think about the last time God scared us, or when we're in a scary time and God delivered us. Yeah. So if you're having trouble trusting in God, let's look to the scriptures. In Daniel chapter 3. In Daniel chapter 3, obviously we're going to read about Daniel, right? That's where the book we're in. Daniel chapter 3, in verse 16, we have to give a little backstory. The king Nebuchadnezzar, right? He has this edict go out that everyone needs to basically worship his gods. And Daniel and his friends, they're like, no, we serve the true God. We're not gonna do that. And so they get taken into custody and get ready to be thrown into the fiery furnace. And so Daniel chapter 3 verse 16 says, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it. And He will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if He does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. And obviously this is an inspiring story. I can imagine this, the boldness that Daniel and his friends must have felt. this is, the book of Daniel. And I won't go too in depth into the story. Most of you know the rap group that I was in as a young male. We identify with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They're like teenagers essentially. They're like, and so we used to like draw inspiration from these guys as how bold they were. And yeah, I chuckled reading this. But yeah, that was kind of like our inspiration. But here we see that they're in this. I imagine Daniel was bold and saying this, but I imagine there's some fear among these men.
Yes.
Right? Obviously, they didn't act on this fear. They were bold for God, but there had been some fear, right? They knew what the consequences of not bowing down to this God. They'd be thrown into a furnace, right? And we think we have it tough when we're struggling to share with folks, share with people that we're intimidated by, that we may back down. These guys are like, no, we're not gonna bow down to this God. I imagine there's some fear. I imagine, there's a lot of anxiety here. And the thing that I learned is that, a lot of times, guys, we just have to trust despite the results. Because here he even says, but even if he does not, we want you to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. Here they're resolved to, man, even if this doesn't work out, I'm still going to trust in God.
Yes.
Even if things don't work out. And, it convicted me when I read this because there's so many times when my trust in God will wane depending on the results of what happens. Something doesn't go my way. Oh, man, I can't trust God because this didn't go my way, right? I can't trust God because, he didn't do exactly what I prayed for. Or this didn't turn out the way I wanted. We're totally disappointed if that's our response.
Right.
Here, Dan says, hey, it doesn't matter what happens. I'm going to trust in God. I'm not going to back down on my faith. Jump down to verse 26.
Come on.
It says, Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, and governors and royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies, nor was a hair of their head singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Then Nebuchadnezzar said, Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any God except their own God. Wow. Even the king just had acknowledgement. These guys trusted in God. He was even thinking, what? Wow, this. I was thinking about the results and everything as well. It says they trusted in him and defied the king's command. And look at what trusting God does for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Not only for them, but even for the effect on Nebuchadnezzar.
Right.
Yeah.
Think about the response of those in your life that are going to be impacted when you trust in God. That when you decide, despite the results, I'm going to trust in God, it's going to have a profound impact, not only for you, but on those that are around you. They defy the king's command. They're scared. And the thing is, we can serve God or we can serve things that are not of God. We can serve our fear. We can serve, our insecurity. It's deep, guys. We got to rely on God. We got to trust on God despite the circumstances. Second challenge for you guys, just to make another list. What scares you? What scares you? It could be something totally rational or irrational. What scares you? I had a long list, when I wrote this down. There's a lot of things that scare me. But I want you to write it down. What scares you? Now, after, we read the story about, what scares us, what worries us, and, once we acknowledge that, we can go from worry to worship. And that's the third point, from worry to worship. Our thoughts are extremely powerful. I had I think it was this last night, and I was having this dream. And I don't know if you guys might be laughing because I was yelling in my dream. I had this dream. You guys ever have a dream where obviously it feels real and you try to call out and you can tell that you can't quite say the words? I had this dream where our daughter got out of, our youngest daughter, Kira, she's a year and a half. She got out of her bed at night and was walking out the door, and our gate, for those that have been to our place, you have to walk up these stairs into our main room, and a gate wasn't there, and I knew in my head, I knew that. It's like she walks out, she's gonna, she can't see, she's gonna fall down the stairs, and I'm trying to like call out to her, and I realized I couldn't move. And Margarita, I was making like this weird noise, like I couldn't say. I was trying to say, hey, stop or something. I couldn't say. I couldn't move. Like, it was so weird, and it freaked me out. It scared me. And then when I realized I couldn't like call out, I tried to like hit Margarita, like to wake her up, and I couldn't move. And so I was trying to like hit her with my head. It was so weird, and I couldn't move, and I don't know if I actually hit her, but I was trying to like just call out, and I couldn't. My voice wasn't working, and so she was in the bed, like just hearing me like make these weird noises. But it was frightening, like that. It scared me. And a lot of times, like, we just don't want to acknowledge what scares us, guys. We don't want to acknowledge that there's things that we're fearful of. And I think that when we don't acknowledge it, we automatically set ourselves back into not trusting God. You got to acknowledge, hey, this scares me right here. Now, we can't act on those fears or allow it to dictate our actions, but we got to acknowledge that things scare us. We got to go from fear and worry to worship. In Jeremiah 17, you don't have to turn there. When you turn there if you want, Jeremiah 17, verse 7 says, "But blessed is the one who trusts in the Lord, whose confidence is in him. They will be like a tree planted by the water that sends out its roots by the stream. It does not fear when heat comes. Its leaves are always green. It has no worries in a year of drought and never fails to bear fruit." The Bible just lays it out. Like, we got to trust in God. When we trust in God, fear goes away. When we trust in God and our confidence is Him, we don't live by fear. Obviously, this sermon serves as a communion, and I wanted to really, I asked myself a question, okay, do I trust God? Like, were there any moments in Jesus' life when he struggled with trust, right? What did Jesus do? Jesus was a man just like us, went through everything in life, went through, through life as a human. Like, did he ever struggle with, trusting in God? Like, how did that look? And so I did a little digging. Let's turn to Matthew 26. I'm going to take a peek in what Jesus did when he was confronted with the same things that we're confronted with. In Matthew 26, we see Jesus here. In Matthew 26, verse 36, the Bible reads, "Then Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, 'Sit here while I go over there and pray.'" And real quick, Gethsemane means, olive press. And, he's sitting here, excuse me, when they're getting oil out of olives, they crush and press the olives. So the insight here is that, Jesus is at the olive press, and he himself is getting ready to be crushed and pressed, for us. So I thought it was a cool insight. Yeah. He says, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch with me." Going a little farther, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me, yet not as I will, but as you will." Then he returned to his disciples and found them sleeping. Couldn't you men keep watch with me for 1 hour? He asked Peter, "Watch and pray so that you will not fall into temptation. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away a second time and prayed, "My Father, if it is not possible for this cup to be taken away unless I drink it, may your will be done." When he came back, he again found them sleeping because their eyes were heavy. So he left them and went away once more and prayed a third time, saying the same thing. Then he returned to the disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Look, the hour has come, and the Son of Man is delivered into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us go. Here comes my betrayer." And the cool thing about this scripture is obviously we see Jesus going through a very challenging time. Knowing that, hey, he's getting ready to go and give up his life. He's with his closest friends, people that he's been with day in and day out for 3 years or more. And they're falling asleep on him. He can't rely on him. He's going through this anguish. Like, I can't even imagine the fear, what was going on in Jesus' mind. And we all know the interesting thing here, it says, if it is possible, may this cup be passed from me. And when I was studying this out, this thing that really was pretty interesting about this. We all know Jesus was really close to God. The Bible says, to our faith, God will answer anything that we ask him, right? According to our faith. And it's pretty obvious that Jesus had probably the most faith of anyone in this world. And there's this commentator was asked, if Jesus, who had, all the faith in the world, asked God for the cup to be passed from him, and it wasn't passed from him, that meant that there was no other way that this would happen. Yeah. There was no other way. Jesus trusted in that and knew that because he prayed for it. It's like, God, I faith, if it's possible, let it be passed from me. And he was resolved knowing that, hey, there's no other way that this can happen. Wow. Right? I know that Jesus answers prayers, and if he didn't answer in another way, that means that this is the only way that this can happen. And he really did it. And to me, that shows the ultimate trust in God to know that, hey, I know that God wants to give me anything that I ask for according to my faith. And so if he doesn't give it to me, that means that it's not in the cards. I'm not going to be okay with that. Here Jesus knew that and was resolved. There was no other way for that to happen. And it's the same way. Like, he had to trust in God, and we got to realize that, man, sometimes we got to trust in God, and it's the only way things are going to come out in the end. And so I want to think about it. I want you guys to think about, as you're taking the bread and taking the juice, think about those lists that you made. Think about the things that you wrote down, and what scares you, the things that you want God to do in your life. And I want you to pray through those things tonight. Jesus, I'm pretty sure, Jesus had a ton on his heart that he prayed for in Gethsemane. There's a lot on his heart. And I believe there's a lot on our hearts, even this one. There's a lot that we're thinking about as the year's closing, things that we want to see happen, maybe some things that didn't happen that we're struggling with. God wants to hear those things. He wants to hear us pray about those things. In the same way Jesus went to God and prayed about everything that was on his heart. I want you to pray about those things, those 2 lists tonight. And then be resolved on if God answers them or if he doesn't. Be resolved that, hey, if it was a no, that means it was a no. If it was yes, it was a yes. I want to leave you with the same question that I asked God multiple times, as I asked myself multiple times this week. Do I trust God? Do I really trust God? And if I do, what is going to be my response? What am I going to do with that? And I pray that as we pray over those lists, as we think about communion, I pray that at the end of the day, that the saying of the title of this lesson will be true for everyone, that in God we do trust. Amen?
Amen.
With that, let's pray.